6:42 on a rainy evening, the cafe lights were warm. Drops of water traced the window like they had somewhere to go. A student closed her notebook near the counter by the door. The smell of coffee filled the room the way it always had before. I ordered what I always ordered and sat where I always sat. The seat beside the window was waiting quietly. Outside the buses passed. Inside the music played, and something felt familiar in the rain. At 6:42, the seat by the window was empty again, like it had been for years. At 6:42, the coffee tasted the same. The rain sounded the same, but somehow everything had changed. The seat by the window was empty again and full of memories. A couple shared a cheesecake near the bookshelf in the back. Someone laughed beside the counter, then disappeared into the crowd. An old pop song drifted softly from the speakers overhead, a song we used to listen to when the city felt younger. The waitress brought my coffee without asking what I'd choose. Some habits stay forever, even when people don't. Outside the buses passed. Inside the music played, and something felt familiar in the rain. At 6:42, the seat by the window was empty again, like it had been for years. At 6:42, the coffee tasted the same. The rain sounded the same, but somehow everything had changed. The seat by the window was empty again and full of memories. Maybe memories don't live in grand places. Maybe they live in empty chairs beside rainy windows on ordinary evenings. At 6:42, the seat by the window was empty again, but the cafe was still warm. At 6:42, the rain kept falling, the music kept playing, and life kept moving on. The seat by the window was empty again, yet somehow I didn't feel alone. The rain grew softer, the coffee cooled, and evening settled in. — 6:42 on a rainy evening, the cafe lights were warm. Drops of water traced the window like they had somewhere to go. A student closed her notebook near the counter by the door. The smell of coffee filled the room the way it always had before. I ordered what I always ordered and sat where I always sat. The seat beside the window was waiting quietly. Outside the buses passed. Inside the music played, and something felt seat by the window was empty again, like it had been for years. At 6:42, the coffee tasted the same, the rain sounded the same, but somehow everything had changed. The seat by the window was empty again and full of memories. A couple shared a cheesecake near the bookshelf in the back. Someone laughed beside the counter, then disappeared into the crowd. An old pop song drifted softly from the speakers overhead, a song we used to listen to when the city felt younger. The waitress brought my coffee without asking what I choose. Some habits stay forever, even when people don't. Outside, the buses passed. Inside, the music played, and something felt familiar. In the rain at 6:42, the seat by the window was empty again, like it had been for years. At 6:42, the coffee tasted the same, the rain sounded the same, but somehow everything had changed. The seat by the window was empty again and full of memories. Maybe memories don't live in grand places, maybe they live in empty chairs beside rainy windows on ordinary evenings. At 6:42, the seat by the window was empty again, but the cafe was still warm. At 6:42, the rain kept falling, the music kept playing, and life kept moving on. The sick by the window was empty again, yet somehow I didn't feel alone. The rain grew softer, the coffee cooled, and evening settled in. On a rainy evening, the second floor was almost full. A man by the bookshelf read quietly as thunder rolled outside. The window carried streaks of rain across the city lights, and somewhere near the counter a grinder hummed again. Coffee sat before me, sending curls into the air, while memories arrived without invitation. Outside, the umbrellas moved like little boats across the street, and suddenly I was thinking of you. At 7:18, the coffee grew cold first, before I finished remembering everything we used to be. At 7:18, the rain kept falling softly, the music kept playing low, and the coffee grew cold first, while the memories stayed warm. You always liked the corner table beside the old brick wall, where you could watch the people passing underneath the lights. You draw on the paper cup while telling me your plans. And somehow every ordinary story sounded beautiful then. The waitress cleared the table nearby, a chair scraped on the floor. Small sounds filled the evening, the way they always do. Outside, the umbrellas moved like little boats across the street. And suddenly, I was thinking of you. At 7:18, the coffee grew cold first before I finished remembering everything we used to be. At 7:18, the rain kept falling softly, the music kept playing low, and the coffee grew cold first while the memories stayed warm. Funny how time works, coffee cools, rain ends. Seasons change, yet some conversations remain exactly where we left them. At 7:18, the coffee grew cold first, but the evening stayed with me long after I stood to leave. At 7:18, the rain became a whisper, the lights blurred through the glass, and the coffee grew cold first. But not the memories. The cup was empty, the rain was lighter, and the city moved on. "7:18 on a rainy evening, the second floor was almost full. A man by the bookshelf read quietly as thunder rolled outside. The window carried streaks of rain across the city lights, and somewhere near the counter, a grinder hummed again. Coffee sat before me, sending curls into the air, while memories arrived without invitation. Outside, the umbrellas moved like little boats across the street, and suddenly I was thinking of you. At 7:18, the coffee grew cold first before I finished remembering everything we used to be. At 7:18, the rain kept falling softly, the music kept playing low, and the coffee grew cold first while the memories stayed warm. You always liked the corner table beside the old brick wall, where you could watch the people passing underneath the lights. You draw circles on the paper cup while telling me your plans, and somehow every ordinary story sounded beautiful then. The waitress cleared the table nearby, a chair scraped on the floor. Small sounds filled the evening, the way they always do. Outside, the umbrellas moved like little boats across the street, and suddenly I was thinking of you. music kept playing low, and the coffee grew cold first, while the memories stayed warm. Funny how time works, coffee cools, rain ends, seasons change. Yes, some conversations remain exactly where we left them. At 7:18, the coffee grew cold first, but the evening stayed with me long after I stood to leave. At 7:18, the rain became a whisper, the lights blurred through the glass, and the coffee grew cold first, but not the memories. The cup was empty, the rain was lighter, and the city moved on. 7:51 on a rainy Thursday, the cafe windows glowed. People gathered around small tables, escaping from the weather outside. A student searched for an outlet near the bookshelf in the back. The smell of roasted coffee beans floated through the room. I was reading through old messages, half paying attention, when a familiar melody drifted from the speakers. It wasn't loud, it wasn't special, but somehow everything changed. At 7:51, a song near the counter brought back an entire year in just a few seconds. At 7:51, the rain disappeared, the cafe disappeared, and suddenly I was standing in another time again. It was the song they always played during the winter of 19, back when the days felt slower and the future felt close. You would hum along quietly without knowing all the words, tapping your fingers on the table beside your coffee cup. The barista filled another order, steam rising through the air, and for a moment the years between us vanished. It wasn't loud, it wasn't special, but somehow everything changed. At 7:51, a song near the counter brought back an entire year in just a few seconds. At 7:51, the rain disappeared, the cafe disappeared, and suddenly I was standing in another time again. People say photographs preserve memories, but songs are different. Songs don't show the past, they make you feel it. At 7:51, a song near the counter filled the room with old winters and forgotten afternoons. At 7:51, the coffee had grown colder, the rain had grown softer, but the melody remained beside me. The next song started, the rain continued, and the evening moved on. 7:51 on a rainy Thursday, the cafe windows glowed. People gather round small tables, escaping from the weather outside. A student searched for an outlet near the bookshelf in the back. The smell of roasted coffee beans floated through the room. I was reading through all messages, half paying attention, when a familiar melody drifted from the speakers. It wasn't loud, it wasn't special, but somehow everything changed. At 7:51, a song near the counter brought back an entire year in just a few seconds. At 7:51, the rain disappeared, the cafe disappeared, and suddenly I was standing in another time again. It was the song they always played during the winter of 19, back when the days felt slower and the future felt close. You would hum along quietly without knowing all the words, tapping your fingers on the table beside your coffee cup. The barista filled another order, steam rising through the air, and for a moment the years between us vanished. It wasn't loud, it wasn't special, but somehow everything changed. At 7:51, a song near the counter brought back an entire year in just a few seconds. At 7:51, the rain disappeared, the cafe disappeared, and suddenly I was standing in another time again. People say photographs preserve memories, but songs are different. Songs don't show the past, they make you feel it. At 7:51, a song near the counter filled the room with old winters and forgotten afternoons. At 7:51, the coffee had grown colder, the rain had grown softer, but the melody remained long after it ended. At 7:51, a song near the counter brought back an entire year and left it gently on the table beside me. The next song started, the rain continued, and the evening moved on. "8:83 on a rainy Friday, the cafe felt smaller tonight. A barista wiped the counter while soft music filled the room. Near the window stood the chair where you always used to sit, your dark coat hanging loosely there on evenings much like this. The rain tapped on the glass the way it always had before, and somehow I kept glancing toward that corner of the room. Some habits stay long after people leave. Some memories stay long after they're needed. At 8:23, your coat was gone, but I still looked at the chair, like part of me expected you to walk through that door. At 8:23, the rain kept falling softly. The coffee smelled the same, but the chair beside the window felt different now. A woman opened her umbrella just outside beneath the sign. Two students shared a sandwich at the table near the stairs. The owner changed the playlist to an old familiar song, and every little detail made the evening feel unchanged, except for one small thing, the thing I noticed most. The coat was no longer there where it used to be. Some habits stay long after people leave. Some memories stay long after they're needed. At 8:23, your coat was gone, but I still looked at the chair, like part of me expected you to walk through that door. At 8:23, the rain kept falling softly. The coffee smelled the same, but the chair beside the window felt different now. Sometimes we don't miss a person all at once. Sometimes we miss the little things around them first. At 8:23, your coat was gone. The chair stood quietly alone. The years had moved between us like rain across the glass. At 8:23, the city lights were glowing. The music played on, and I finally understood. Some empty places remain part of us forever. The rain slowed down, the cafe grew quieter, and evening carried on. Eight 8:23 on a rainy Friday, the cafe felt smaller tonight. A barista wiped the counter while soft music filled the room. Near the window stood the chair where you always used to sit, your dark coat hanging loosely there on evenings much like this. The rain tapped on the glass the way it always had before, and somehow I kept glancing toward that corner of the room. Some habits stay long after people leave. Some memories stay chair beside the window felt different now. A woman opened her umbrella just outside beneath the sign. Two students shared a sandwich at the table near the stairs. The owner changed the playlist to an old familiar song, and every little detail made the evening feel unchanged. Except for one small thing, the thing I noticed most: the coat was no longer there where it used to be. Some habits stay long after people leave. Some memories stay long after they're needed. At 8:23, your coat was gone, but I still looked at the chair like part of me expected you to walk through that door. At 8:23, the rain kept falling softly, the coffee smelled the same, but the chair beside the window felt different now. Sometimes we don't miss a person all at once. Sometimes we miss the little things around them. First, at 8:23, your coat was gone, the chair stood quietly alone. The years had moved between us like rain across the glass. At 8:23, the city lights were glowing, the music played on, and I finally understood some empty places remain part of us forever. The rain slowed down, the cafe grew quieter, and evening carried on. "8:57 on a Saturday evening, the rooftop cafe glowed. Rain tapped softly overhead like fingers on a table. The city lights below blurred beneath the weather, turning every street into a watercolor painting. A man folded yesterday's newspaper near the window by the stairs, while the owner watered plants beside the counter. The rain kept speaking in a language only memories understand. At 8:57, the rain on the cafe roof sounded like an old conversation I almost remembered word for word. At 8:57, the coffee felt warmer, the city felt farther away, and the rain on the cafe roof stayed a little longer than the sadness did. Someone opened the door, bringing in the smell of wet pavement. A young couple shook their umbrellas and laughed quietly. The espresso machine hissed like it had all evening, and an old pop song played somewhere in the background. Nothing extraordinary happened, no grand moments appeared, yet somehow it became became a night worth remembering. The rain kept speaking in a language only memories understand. At 8:57, the rain on the cafe roof sounded like an old conversation I almost remembered word for word. At 8:57, the coffee felt warmer, the city felt farther away, and the rain on the cafe roof stayed a little longer than the sadness did. Maybe healing doesn't arrive with answers. Maybe it arrives as rain above a rooftop and a place to sit for a while. At 8:57, the rain on the cafe roof still echoed through the evening, long after the storm had passed. The lights reflected softly across the wet streets below, and the rain on the cafe roof turned an ordinary night into a memory. The rain grew lighter, the coffee cup was empty, and the city shimmered below. Eight 8:57 on a Saturday evening, the rooftop cafe glowed. Rain tapped softly overhead like fingers on a table. The city lights below blurred beneath the weather, turning every street into a watercolor painting. A man folded yesterday's newspaper near the window by the stairs, while the owner watered plants beside the counter. The rain kept speaking in a language only memories understand. At 8:57, the rain on the cafe roof sounded like an old conversation I almost remembered word for word. At 8:57, the coffee felt warmer, the city felt farther away, and the rain on the cafe roof stayed a little longer than the sadness did. Someone opened the door, bringing in the smell of wet pavement. A young couple shook their umbrellas and laughed quietly. The espresso machine hissed like it had all evening, and an old pop song played somewhere in the background. Nothing extraordinary happened, no grand moments appeared, yet somehow it became a night worth remembering. The rain kept speaking in a language only memories understand. At 8:57, the rain on the cafe roof sounded like an old conversation I almost remembered word for word. At 8:57, the coffee felt warmer, the city felt farther away, 9:57, the rain on the cafe roof still echoed through the evening, long after the storm had passed. At 8:57, the lights reflected softly across the wet streets below, and the rain on the cafe roof turned an ordinary night into a memory. The rain grew lighter, the coffee cup was empty, and the city shimmered below. "9:26 on a rainy Sunday, the cafe was nearly closed. The owner stacked the chairs slowly near the back of the room. I opened an old notebook, looking for a phone number, when a folded receipt slipped out and landed on the floor. Beneath it was a handwritten note in familiar blue ink, small enough to fit inside a pocket, yet somehow impossible to forget. Some things disappear for years and years, only to return when you need them most. And 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt, a few simple words written long ago. And 9:26, the rain outside grew quieter, the years between us faded, and suddenly the evening felt warm again. The paper had grown softer around the folded edges. The ink had faded slightly, but the handwriting remained. Don't forget to smile today. That was all it said, a sentence so ordinary I almost laughed. Outside a bus stop briefly, before continuing down the street, and somewhere near the counter a coffee cup was washed. Some things disappear for years and years, only to return when you need them most. At 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt, a few simple words written long ago. At 9:26, the rain outside grew quieter, the years between us faded, and suddenly the evening felt warm again. We spend so much time searching for big answers. Sometimes comfort arrives as a single sentence written on a small piece of paper. At 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt and carried it home that night inside my coat pocket. At 9:26, the rain finally ended, the cafe lights The lights grew softer and the note remained. "9:26 on a rainy Sunday. The cafe was nearly closed. The owner stacked the chairs slowly near the back of the room. I opened an old notebook, looking for a phone number, when a folded receipt slipped out and landed on the floor. Beneath it was a handwritten note in familiar blue ink, small enough to fit inside a pocket, yet somehow impossible to forget. Some things disappear for years and years, only to return when you need them most. At 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt. A few simple words written long ago. At 9:26, the rain outside grew quieter. The years between us faded, and suddenly the evening felt warm again. The paper had grown softer around the folded edges. The ink had faded slightly, but the handwriting remained. "Don't forget to smile today." That was all it said. A sentence so ordinary, I almost laughed outside a bus stop briefly, before continuing down the street. And somewhere near the counter, a coffee cup was washed. Some things disappear for years and years, only to return when you need them most. At 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt. A few simple words written long ago. At 9:26, the rain outside grew quieter. The years between us faded, and suddenly the evening felt warm again. We spent so much time searching for big answers. Sometimes comfort arrives as a single sentence, written on a small piece of paper. At 9:26, I found a note beneath the receipt and carried it home that night inside my coat pocket. At 9:26, the rain finally ended. The cafe lights dimmed, and the words stayed with me long after the paper disappeared. The chairs were stacked, the lights grew softer, and the note remained. "9:53 on a rainy evening. The cafe wasn't crowded now. Only a few tables remained occupied. Near the windows and the wall, the owner counted receipts quietly behind the wooden counter, while the smell of coffee lingered in the warm and fading air. The rain had slowed to a whisper outside beneath the lights, and every time the cafe door opened, I found myself looking up. Maybe some habits take longer to leave than the people who created them. At 9:53, someone opened the door, and for a second I thought it was you. At 9:53, the bell above the entrance rang. The rain followed someone inside, and hope followed too. At 9:53, someone opened the door and reminded me how memories still surprise us. A woman carrying a yellow umbrella stepped in from the rain. She ordered tea and sat alone near the bookshelf in the back. The old bell above the doorway settled back into silence, and the evening returned to its familiar rhythm. The espresso machine sighed softly. A chair moved across the floor. Small sounds filled the room like they always had before. Maybe some habits take longer to leave than the people who created them. At 9:53, someone opened the door, and for a second I thought it was you. At 9:53, the bell above the entrance rang. The rain followed someone inside, and hope followed too. At 9:53, someone opened the door and reminded me how memories still surprise us. Sometimes healing begins the moment we realize we're no longer waiting for someone to return, only remembering how much they once meant. At 9:53, someone opened the door, and for the first time I smiled at the mistake. At 9:53, the rain had almost ended. The city lights were brighter now, and the evening felt lighter too. At 9:53, someone opened the door and quietly closed a chapter in my heart. The bell rang once more. The rain was gone, and the night felt calm. On a rainy evening, the cafe wasn't crowded now. Only a few tables remained occupied. Near the windows and the wall, the owner counted receipts quietly behind the wooden counter, while the smell of coffee lingered in the warm and fading air. The rain had slowed to a whisper outside beneath the lights, and every time the cafe door opened, I sat alone near the bookshelf in the back. The old bell above the doorway settled back into silence, and the evening returned to its familiar rhythm. The espresso machine sighed softly, a chair moved across the floor. Small sounds filled the room like they always had before. Maybe some habits take longer to leave than the people who created them. At 9:53, someone opened the door, and for a second I thought it was you. At 9:53, the bell above the entrance rang. The rain followed someone inside, and hope followed too. At 9:53, someone opened the door and reminded me how memories still surprise us. Sometimes healing begins the moment we realize we're no longer waiting for someone to return, only remembering how much they once meant. At 9:53, someone opened the door, and for the first time I smiled at the mistake. At 9:53, the rain had almost ended. The city lights were brighter now, and the evening felt lighter too. At 9:53, someone opened the door and quietly closed a chapter in my heart. The bell rang once more. The rain was gone, and the night felt calm. "10:18 on a rainy Sunday, the cafe was almost closed. The owner turned a few chairs upside down along the wooden floor. The espresso machine rested quietly after a busy day, and the lights seemed softer than they had before. Outside, the rain had finally stopped above the riverside road, leaving tiny reflections on the sleeping pavement. Some evenings end without a reason. Some memories leave without a goodbye. At 10:18, I ordered one last cup before closing time, and somehow it tasted like goodbye. At 10:18, the cafe grew quieter, the city lights grew brighter, and the years felt lighter than they had before. One last cup before closing, one last memory before home. A barista folded an apron near the counter by the door. Her radio played an old pop song, almost too softly to hear. The smell of coffee lingered in the warm and empty room, like a conversation that wasn't ready to end. I looked around the cafe at the tables and the lights and realized I wasn't searching anymore. Some evenings end without a reason. Some memories leave without a goodbye. At 10:18 I ordered one last cup before closing time, and somehow it tasted like goodbye. At 10:18 the cafe grew quieter, the city lights grew brighter, and the years felt lighter than they had before. One last cup before closing, one last memory before home. Maybe moving on isn't forgetting, maybe it's learning to carry the good parts with you and leave the sadness behind. At 10:18 I ordered one last cup before closing time, and watch the evening fade away. At 10:18 the rain was finally over, the cafe lights were dimming, and the road home waited quietly. One last cup before closing, one last look through the window, and one last thank you for everything. 10:30 and the door closed softly. The lights went out and the night fell warm. "10:18 on a rainy Sunday, the cafe was almost closed. The owner turned a few chairs upside down along the wooden floor. The espresso machine rested quietly after a busy day, and the lights seemed softer than they had before. Outside, the rain had finally stopped above the riverside road, leaving tiny reflections on the sleeping pavement. Some evenings end without a reason, some memories leave without a goodbye. At 10:18 I ordered one last cup before closing time, and somehow it tasted like goodbye. At 10:18 the cafe grew quieter, the city lights grew brighter, and the years felt lighter than they had before. One last cup before closing, one last memory before home. A barista folded an apron near the counter by the door. A radio played an old pop song almost too softly to hear. The smell of coffee lingered in the warm and empty room, like a conversation that wasn't ready to end. I looked around the cafe at the tables and the lights and realized I wasn't searching anymore. Some evenings end without a reason. Some memories leave without a goodbye. At 10:18, I order one last cup before closing time, and somehow it tasted like goodbye. At 10:18, the cafe grew quieter, the city lights grew brighter, and the years felt lighter than they had before. One last cup before closing, one last memory before home. Maybe moving on isn't forgetting, maybe it's learning to carry the good parts with you and leave the sadness behind. At 10:18, I ordered one last cup before closing time and watched the evening fade away. At 10:18, the rain was finally over, the cafe lights were dimming, and the road home waited quietly. One last cup before closing, one last look through the window, and then one last thank you for everything. 10:31, the door closed softly, the lights went out, and the night fell warm. "10:43 on a Thursday evening, rain was tapping on the glass. The apartment felt much quieter than it usually did. I was sitting by the kitchen window with a cup of cooling tea, scrolling through old phone numbers I never thought I'd see. Your name was still there, just below my mother's, and for a little while I couldn't move my thumb. Outside, a bus rolled past, leaving water on the road, and somewhere in the distance a train was heading home. At 10:43, your name was on my screen, just a few letters and 1,000 memories. At 10:43, I almost pressed call, but some distances remain, even when they're small. And the number I didn't dial stayed with me all night long. The convenience store downstairs was closing for the night. Mr. Kim was stacking boxes beneath the neon light. He looked up and waved like he always used to do, and somehow that small moment made me think of you. The tea had long gone cold, the rain had started slowing, but your name upon that screen refused to stop glowing. Outside, a taxi passed beneath the streetlight glow, and somewhere beyond the city, the river kept moving slow. At 10:43, your name was on my screen, just few letters and 1,000 memories. At 10:43 I almost pressed call, but some distances remain even when they're small. And the number I didn't dial stayed with me all night long. Maybe I wasn't afraid of hearing your voice. Maybe I was afraid of hearing that nothing had changed, or worse, that everything had. At 10:43 your name was on my screen, like a photograph hidden inside an old magazine. At 10:43 I watched the rain fall down, and though I never called, you somehow stayed around. The number I didn't dial still lives inside my phone, and some goodbyes never really leave us alone. The screen went dark, the rain stopped falling, and the night moved on. 10:43 on a Thursday evening, rain was tapping on the glass. The apartment felt much quieter than it usually did. I was sitting by the kitchen window with a cup of cooling tea, scrolling through old phone numbers I never thought I'd see. Your name was still there, just below my mother's, and for a little while I couldn't move my thumb. Outside a bus rolled past, leaving water on the road, and somewhere in the distance a train was heading home. At 10:43 your name was on my screen, just a few letters and 1,000 memories. At 10:43 I almost pressed call, but some distances remain even when they're small. And the number I didn't dial stayed with me all night long. The convenience store downstairs was closing for the night. Mr. Kim was stacking boxes beneath the neon light. He looked up and waved like he always used to do, and somehow that small moment made me think of you. The tea had long gone cold, the rain had started slowing, but your name upon that screen refused to stop glowing. Outside a taxi passed beneath the streetlight glow, and somewhere beyond the city the river kept moving slow. At 10:43 your name was on my screen, just a few letters and 1,000 memories. At 10:43 I almost pressed call, but some distances remain even when they're small. And the number I didn't dial stayed with me all night long. Maybe I wasn't afraid of hearing your voice. Maybe I was afraid of hearing that nothing had changed, or worse, that everything had. 10:43, your name was on my screen, like a photograph hidden inside an old magazine. At 10:43, I watched the rain fall down, and though I never called, you somehow stayed around. The number I didn't dial still lives inside my phone, and some goodbyes never really leave us alone. The screen went dark, the rain stopped falling, and the night moved on. 11:27 at Mapo Station, the announcement echoed low. The last train standing on platform 2 was getting ready to go. People hurried through the gates with umbrellas in their hands, while I stood beside the ticket machine, changing old plans. In my coat pocket, a crumpled train ticket stayed, like a small reminder of the words I never said. The station lights reflected on the floor, and suddenly I wasn't sure what I came here for. The last train to Mapo left at 11:27, and so did my chance to say goodbye. The doors closed slowly, the city rolled away, and all the things I meant to tell you stayed behind that day. The last train to Mapo disappeared into the night, and some moments leave us long before they're out of sight. A station worker swept the platform near the yellow safety line. A couple laughed beside the stairs, like they still had plenty of time. The vending machine was humming its lonely midnight song, while I watched the empty tracks stretch endlessly alone. A message sat inside my phone, half written, never sent, and every passing second felt heavier than it meant. The station lights reflected on the floor, and suddenly I wasn't sure what I came here for. The last train to Mapo left at 11:27, and so did my chance to say goodbye. The doors closed slowly, the city rolled away, and all the things I meant to tell you stayed behind that day. The last train to Mapo disappeared into the night, and some moments leave us long before they're out of sight. Maybe life isn't changed by the words we say. Maybe it's changed by the words we don't. The last train to Mapo left at 11:27, but every now and then I still hear it arrive. The platform's gone quiet, the years have moved along, yet somewhere in my memory that train is still not gone. The last train to Mapo still platform stood empty. The ticket remained, and the night moved on. 11:27 Mapo Station. The announcement echoed low. The last train standing on platform 2 was getting ready to go. People hurried through the gates with umbrellas in their hands, while I stood beside the ticket machine, changing all plans. In my coat pocket, a crumpled train ticket stayed, like a small reminder of the words I never said. The station lights reflected on the floor, and suddenly I wasn't sure what I came here for. The last train to Napo left at 11:27, and so did my chance to say goodbye. The doors closed slowly, the city rolled away, and all the things I meant to tell you stayed behind that day. The last train to Napo disappeared into the night, and some moments leave us long before they're out of sight. The station worker swept the platform near the yellow safety line. A couple laughed beside the stairs, like they still had plenty of time. The vending machine was humming its lonely midnight song, while I watched the empty tracks stretch endlessly along. A message sat inside my phone, half written, never sent, and every passing second felt heavier than it meant. The station lights reflected on the floor, and suddenly I wasn't sure what I came here for. The last train to Napo left at 11:27, and so did my chance to say goodbye. The doors closed slowly, the city rolled away, and all the things I meant to tell you stayed behind that day. The last train to Napo disappeared into the night, and some moments leave us long before they're out of sight. Maybe life isn't changed by the words we say. Oh, maybe it's changed by the words we done. The last train to Napo left at 11:27, but every now and then I still hear it arrive. The platform's gone quiet, the years have moved along, yet somewhere in my memory that train is still not gone. The last train to Napo still travels through my mind, carrying all the things I left behind. 11:31, the platform stood empty. The ticket remained, and the night moved on. 8:14 on a Friday evening, table 7 by the glass. The rain had just begun outside, and people hurried past. You ordered coffee with oat milk, I chose tea, as always. The waitress smiled and wrote it down like any ordinary day. A jazz song drifted through the speakers, soft enough to barely hear. And somehow that small cafe felt bigger with you here. The streetlights glowed, the windows steamed, and for a little while I felt easy. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. 2 drinks and 1 slice of cake, printed in faded ink. The receipt from table 7 is folded in my drawer, and somehow the small piece of paper means so much more. The owner turned the sign to closed just after 9:30. A student packed his textbooks at the table behind. You laughed about a movie neither of us had seen, and for a moment everything was exactly as it seemed. When we finally stood to leave, the rain had almost stopped. The city shimmered under lights along the narrow block. The streetlights glowed, the windows steamed, and for a little while I felt easy. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. 2 drinks and 1 slice of cake, printed in faded ink. The receipt from table 7 is folded in my drawer, and somehow that small piece of paper means so much more. People think memories live inside photographs, but sometimes they live inside receipts, ticket stubs, and things we almost throw away. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. Though the cafe has changed and the years have moved on, the receipt from table 7 still takes me back somehow to an ordinary evening I didn't know I'd miss until now. The drawer closes softly, the rain is gone, and the memory remains. On a Friday evening, table 7 by the glass. The rain had just begun outside, and people hurried past. You ordered coffee with oat milk, I chose tea, as always. The waitress smiled and wrote it down like any ordinary day. A jazz song drifted through the speakers, soft enough to barely hear. And somehow that small cafe felt bigger with you here. The streetlights glowed, the windows steamed, and for a little while life felt easy. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. 2 drinks and 1 slice of cake, printed in seen. And for a moment everything was exactly as it seemed. When we finally stood to leave, the rain had almost stopped. The city shimmered under lights along the narrow block. The street lights glowed, the windows steamed, and for a little while life felt easy. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. 2 drinks and 1 slice of cake, printed in faded ink. The receipt from table 7 is folded in my drawer, and somehow that small piece of paper means so much more. People think memories live inside photographs, but sometimes they live inside receipts, ticket stubs, and things we almost throw away. The receipt from table 7 still says 8:14 p.m. Though the cafe has changed and the years have moved on. The receipt from table 7 still takes me back somehow to one ordinary evening I didn't know I'd miss until now. The drawer closes softly, the rain is gone, and the memory remains. Eleven 12 on a Sunday evening, the rain had finally stopped. A desk lamp glowed above the paper as the neighborhood grew quiet. I had spent an hour writing things I should have said before, filling every empty space, then reading them once more. Outside, Mrs. Lee from upstairs was bringing laundry in, and somewhere down the hallway a door closed softly. The envelope was ready, the stamp was in place, everything was prepared except my courage. At 11:12 I folded the letter and placed it back inside the drawer. The words were finally written, but somehow I couldn't send them. At 11:12 the rain had already ended, the city lights were shining clear, but the letter I never sent stayed right here. I wrote about the winter mornings when we'd meet before the train. I wrote about the coffee shop that still remembers your name. I wrote about the little things nobody else would know, like how you always chose the window seat whenever it snowed. The ink had started drying, the night was growing deep, and every sentence felt like something I should keep. The envelope was ready, the stamp was in place, everything was prepared except my courage. At 11:12 I folded the letter and placed it back inside the drawer. The words were finally written, but somehow I couldn't send them. At 11:12 the rain had already ended, the city lights were shining clear, but the letter I never sent stayed right here. Maybe so can finally say what it has carried for years. At 11:12, I folded the letter and listened to the silence in the room. The years have changed so many things, but not the way I remembered you. At 11:12, the lamp was still burning. The street below was empty now, and though the letter never left the drawer, the words somehow found their way out. The lamp grew dim, the drawer closed slowly, and the night moved on. Eleven, 12 on a Sunday evening, the rain had finally stopped. A desk lamp glowed above the paper as the neighborhood grew quiet. I had spent an hour writing things I should have said before, filling every empty space, then reading them once more. Outside, Mrs. Lee from upstairs was bringing laundry in, and somewhere down the hallway a door closed softly. The envelope was ready, the stamp was in place, everything was prepared except my courage. At 11:12, I folded the letter and placed it back inside the drawer. The words were finally written, but somehow I couldn't send them. At 11:12, the rain had already ended, the city lights were shining clear, but the letter I never sent stayed right here. I wrote about the winter mornings when we meet before the train. I wrote about the coffee shop that still remembers your name. I wrote about the little things nobody else would know, like how you always chose the window seat whenever it snowed. The ink had started drying, the night was growing deep, and every sentence felt like something I should keep. The envelope was ready, the stamp was in place, everything was prepared except my courage. At 11:12, I folded the letter and placed it back inside the drawer. The words were finally written, but somehow I couldn't send them. At 11:12, the rain had already ended, the city lights were shining clear, but the letter I never sent stayed right here. Maybe some letters aren't written to be delivered. Maybe they're written so the heart can finally say what it has carried for years. At 11:12, I folded the letter and listened to the silence in the room. The years have changed so many things, but not the way I remembered you. At 11:12, the lamp was still burning, the street below was empty now, and though the letter never left the drawer, the words somehow found their way out. The lamp grew dim, the drawer closed slowly, and the night moved on. 11:48 on a Tuesday evening. The streets were nearly still. The flower shop beside the crossing had already turned off its lights. I pushed open the convenience store door. The bell rang overhead, and Mr. Park looked up from stacking boxes with a smile and said, "Going home late again." The same words every week, like he somehow always noticed when life had been difficult. The coffee machine hummed softly near the back wall, and suddenly the whole day didn't feel so heavy anymore. At 11:48 he smiled and said, "Going home late again." Just a simple question asked 100 times before. At 11:48 the coffee felt warmer, and somehow the city felt smaller than it had all day long. Sometimes kindness arrives in the most ordinary forms. A delivery driver grabbed a sandwich before heading back outside. A student sat beside the window, reviling notes for tomorrow. The radio behind the counter played an old familiar song, and for a little while everything felt calm. Mr. Park handed me my coffee and wished me a good night, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The coffee machine hummed softly near the back wall, and suddenly the whole day didn't feel so heavy anymore. At 11:48 he smiled and said, "Going home late again." Just a simple question asked 100 times before. At 11:48 the coffee felt warmer, and somehow the city felt smaller than it had all day long. Sometimes kindness arrives in the most ordinary forms. We remember birthdays and special occasions, but sometimes the people who save us are the ones who simply remember our usual order. At 11:48 the neon sign was glowing. The rain had finally stopped, the sidewalk shined below. At 11:48 a paper cup of coffee and a familiar voice made the whole world feel a little less lonely than before. The doorbell rang again. Mr. Park smiled. Another night went on. Mm, mm, 11:48 on a Tuesday evening. The streets were nearly still. The flower shop beside the crossing had already turned off its lights. I pushed open the convenience store door. The bell rang overhead, and Mr. Park looked up from stacking boxes with a smile and said, "Going home late again." The same words every week, like he somehow always noticed when life had been difficult. The coffee machine hummed softly near the back wall, and suddenly the whole day didn't feel so heavy anymore. At 11:48 he smiled and said, "Going home late again." Just a simple question student sat beside the window, reviving notes for tomorrow. The radio behind the counter played an old familiar song, and for a little while everything felt calm. Mr. Park handed me my coffee and wished me a good night, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The coffee machine hummed softly near the back wall, and suddenly the whole day didn't feel so heavy anymore. At 11:48 he smiled and said, "Going home late again?" Just a simple question asked 100 times before. At 11:48 the coffee felt warmer, and somehow the city felt smaller than it had all day long. Sometimes kindness arrives in the most ordinary forms. We remember birthdays and special occasions, but sometimes the people who save us are the ones who simply remember our usual order. At 11:48 the neon sign was glowing. The rain had finally stopped, the sidewalk shined below. At 11:48 a paper cup of coffee and a familiar voice made the whole world feel a little less lonely than before. The doorbell rang again. Mr. Park smiled, and another night went on. 12:07 on a Wednesday night, the city was growing still. Mapo Bridge stretched across the river beneath a sky of fading clouds. A cyclist passed beside me, his backpack glowing red, then disappeared into the darkness without a single word. The Han River carried reflections of apartment lights below, breaking them into pieces, then pulling them away. The wind was cool, the road was clear, and for the first time in a while I wanted to be here. At 12:07, crossing the bridge at midnight, the city looked different somehow from the middle of the river. At 12:07, the words felt smaller, the lights felt warmer, and the future didn't seem so far. Crossing the bridge at midnight, I finally stopped looking back. A delivery scooter crossed behind me, heading toward the northern side, somewhere near the riverbank. Two friends were laughing quietly. The convenience store near the entrance was still glowing in the dark, and the smell of instant ramen floated through the air. For a moment, nothing special happened, and maybe that's exactly why I remember it so well. was clear, and for the first time in a while, I wanted to be here. At 12:07, crossing the bridge at midnight, the city looked different somehow from the middle of the river. At 12:07, the words felt smaller, the lights felt warmer, and the future didn't seem so far. Crossing the bridge at midnight, I finally stopped looking back. Maybe healing doesn't arrive all at once. Maybe it arrives one quiet step at a time, on a bridge above a river after midnight. At 12:07, crossing the bridge at midnight, the years behind me felt lighter than they ever had before. At 12:07, the river kept moving high, the city kept breathing, and so did I. Crossing the bridge at midnight, I finally understood. Some roads aren't meant to take us back. The bridge lights shimmer, the river flowed on, and the night felt kind. "12:07 on a Wednesday night, the city was growing still. Maple Bridge stretched across the river, beneath the sky of fading clouds. A cyclist passed beside me, his backpack glowing red, then disappeared into the darkness without a single word. The Hen River carried reflections of apartment lights below, breaking them into pieces, then pulling them away. The wind was cool, the road was clear, and for the first time in a while, I wanted to be here. At 12:07, crossing the bridge at midnight, the city looked different somehow from the middle of the river. At 12:07, the words felt smaller, the lights felt warmer, and the future didn't seem so far. Crossing the bridge at midnight, I finally stopped looking back. A delivery scooter crossed behind me, heading toward the northern side. Somewhere near the riverbank, two friends were laughing quietly. The convenience store near the entrance was still glowing in the dark, and the smell of instant ramen floated through the air. For a moment, nothing special happened, and maybe that's exactly why I remember it so well. The wind was cool, the road was clear, and for the first time in a while, I wanted to be here. At 12:07, crossing the bridge at midnight, the city looked different somehow from the middle of the river. At 12:07, the words felt smaller, the lights felt warmer, and the 12:41 on a summer night. The rooftop was almost still. A few shirts moved in the breeze along the laundry line. The city below was quieter than it had been all day. Only distant traffic and the sound of the wind remained. Mrs. Joy's blanket was still hanging beside an old white shirt, and somehow those ordinary things made the night feel warm. The apartment lights were turning off one by one across the blocks. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there beneath the same stars we used to watch on nights just like this. At 12:41, the city felt far away, and all the things I couldn't change didn't matter quite as much. A rooftop antenna stood quietly against the midnight sky. The moon rested above the buildings like it had nowhere else to be. Someone downstairs closed a window. A dog barked once and stopped, and for a moment the whole neighborhood seemed asleep. I looked toward the river beyond the apartment roofs and thought about how many evenings had disappeared into the dark. The apartment lights were turning off one by one across the blocks. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there beneath the same stars we used to watch on nights just like this. At 12:41, the city felt far away, and all the things I couldn't change didn't matter quite as much. Maybe peace isn't forgetting, maybe it's standing still long enough to realize some memories no longer hurt. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there. The stars were still above, the city was still breathing, and so was I. At 12:41, the summer wind kept blowing, and for the first time in a long time, the future felt gentle instead of uncertain. 12:55, the rooftop grew quiet, the stars remained, and the night stayed kind. On a summer night, the rooftop was almost still. A few shirts moved in the breeze along the laundry line. The city below was quieter than it had been all day. Only distant traffic and the sound of the wind remained. Mrs. Joy's blanket was still hanging beside an old white shirt, and somehow those ordinary feel warm. The apartment lights were turning off one by one across the blocks. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there beneath the same stars we used to watch on nights just like this. At 12:41, the city felt far away, and all the things I couldn't change didn't matter quite as much. A rooftop antenna stood quietly against the midnight sky. The moon rested above the buildings like it had nowhere else to be. Someone downstairs closed a window. A dog barked once and stopped, and for a moment the whole neighborhood seemed asleep. I looked toward the river beyond the apartment roofs and thought about how many evenings had disappeared into the dark. The apartment lights were turning off one by one across the blocks. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there beneath the same stars we used to watch on nights just like this. At 12:41, the city felt far away, and all the things I couldn't change didn't matter quite as much. Maybe peace isn't forgetting, maybe it's standing still long enough to realize some memories no longer hurt. At 12:41, the laundry was still hanging there. The stars were still above, the city was still breathing, and so was I. At 12:41, the summer wind kept blowing, and for the first time in a long time, the future felt gentle instead of uncertain. The rooftop grew quiet, the stars remained, and the night stayed kind. Mm-hmm. 12:18 on a Thursday night, the elevator opened slow. The hallway smelled faintly of rice and soup from hours ago. Apartment 302 was quiet, the shoes were lined beside the door, just like every evening, just like years before. The hallway light was still on, casting shadows on the wall, and somehow after such a long day, that small light meant it all. The city outside was still awake, but here inside, everything could wait. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, like someone knew I was coming home. Through every busy morning, every difficult day, that little light kept shining, showing me the way. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, and suddenly the whole world didn't feel so heavy anymore. Mrs. Hunt's bicycle stood quietly near the stairwell as before. A delivery notice fluttered beneath apartment 304. The building wasn't special, the paint was slightly worn, but every corner held a memory of who I had become. I reached into my pocket, searching for my keys, and listened to the silence settling around me. The city outside was still awake, but here inside everything could wait. At 12:18 the hallway light was still on, like someone knew I was coming home. Through every busy morning, every difficult day, that little light kept shining, showing me the way. At 12:18 the hallway light was still on, and suddenly the whole world didn't feel so heavy anymore. Maybe love isn't always spoken, maybe it looks like this, a light left on, a familiar hallway, a place that never asks where you've been, only welcomes you back. At 12:18 the hallway light was still on, the same warm glow it had always been. The years kept moving, the city kept changing, but some things remain. At 12:18 the hallway light was still on, and standing there with my hand upon the door, I realized home was never a place I returned to. It was a feeling that had been waiting all along. The key turned softly, the door opened, and the night came to rest. Twelve 18 on a Thursday night, the elevator opened slow. The hallway smelled faintly of rice and soup from hours ago. Apartment 302 was quiet, the shoes were lined beside the door. Just like every evening, just like years before. The hallway light was still on, casting shadows on the wall. And somehow after such a long day, that small light meant it all. The city outside was still awake, but here inside everything could wait. At 12:18 the hallway light was still on, like someone knew I was coming home. Through every busy morning, every difficult day, that little light kept shining, showing me the way. At 12 reaching for my keys and listen to the silence settling around me. The city outside was still awake, but here inside everything could wait. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, like someone knew I was coming home. Through every busy morning, every difficult day, that little light kept shining, showing me the way. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, and suddenly the whole world didn't feel so heavy anymore. Maybe love isn't always spoken. Maybe it looks like this: a light left on a familiar hallway, a place that never asks where you've been, only welcomes you back. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, the same warm glow it had always been. The years kept moving, the city kept changing, but something remained. At 12:18, the hallway light was still on, and standing there with my hand upon the door, I realized home was never a place I returned to. It was a feeling that had been waiting all along. The key turned softly, the door